Hey everyone, I'm going to show you what I'm up to today. Alright, we just created suction. So I'm going to go ahead, bring this over here to the tank. And we're just getting rid of half the water because we just recently treated this tank for ick. That water pressure creates a suction. I just got to kind of watch it to make sure no fish swim up in there. And if they do, I'll kink it real fast. So we drained 50% of the water last night. We are now draining another 50%, and that will get most of the medication and saltiness out of the water. So ick is very, very common. There's a lot of incompetent pet stores out there these days. When my dad used to manage a pet store before he became a veterinarian, any new batch of fish or anything coming into the pet store would get immediately quarantined for a couple weeks, and when there's no signs of ick, it would get put out for sale. Or I think he even said he used to just treat everything as if it has ick, then sell it. But we got ick because the pet store is lazy, and because we have snails, you can't use typical ick medications. Most ick medications will contain copper or heavy metal, stuff that'll kill snails and crustaceans like the crayfish in here. Where's our baby crayfish? Also, since the last video I made, the Plecostomus hasn't been being as aggressive. Any fish like that in the entrance of his cave, he would chase him away. He's not being as aggressive though. That's pretty nice. Alright, it's about halfway down. These guys are also very, very tame. Like the first night out of the wild, they were tame. Those are white sucker fish. Alright, we're going back over here. You just tighten this guy up, which reverses the flow of what you call the python, and that is going to refill the tank. And as soon as it's back up where I want it, we're going to do the same to this one. I just set up this bucket this morning because we're quarantining. Snails cannot carry ick, but I bought a few baby ram's horn snails on Amazon, and they're gonna live in here. I'm gonna feed them. They got oxygen that'll also keep them fresh. I'll also do partial water changes on this with the aquariums and water testing on this bucket as if it's an aquarium. And in a couple weeks, they're gonna go upstairs with the fish. So I'm just waiting for it to get a little deeper. See, they have a big cave, a shallow cave, a little bit of shallow water up there, which the tadpole will love when he becomes a frog. That platform stays dry, that stays dry and sunny for the frog when he becomes a frog. And I love having all the sucker fish, all the snails, because it keeps everything clean. Look how clean that is. That's quartz. That eye is quartz. We found that in a river up in northern Yukon. Alright, it's where I want the water level, so turn it. Create suction again. Open this aquarium. Grab this. Start sucking water out of that one because that was also treated. I want to get the saltiness out. So now we did a 50% water change yesterday, 50% water change today. I don't do it all at once because now their temperature is going to drop quite a bit and I don't want to shock them. There's also tropical fish in here, so it's not good to bring them way down into the 60s. But down here, these are native fish. We have a crayfish in there. I bought them at a store, but it's a native species. They can tolerate it being colder, but you don't want to shock them. So doing 2 half water changes, am I doing the math right? There's probably still, what, like 20% medication in here? But it's fine. We're not going to do another partial water change for a couple weeks. But we did a really crystal clear water now. It's really nice. We'll let it go a few days, then we'll test water quality like ammonia and pH again, make sure everything's all right. So what we did was we put 1 teaspoon of salt into the aquarium for every 1 or 2 gallons. It made it brackish. It made it uncomfortable for ick, which is a parasite, to be on them. It detached because we had to order a special medication that wouldn't kill the snails in the mail. And by the time that medication arrived, it seemed like the ick was gone just from the salt treatment. We also made the aquarium water warmer so the ick would go through its cycle faster and get out of there. So ick dies if the water temperature is in the upper 80s or 90s. But also a lot of fish can't tolerate that, so don't try to bake it out of your tank. You're gonna hurt your fish. We just increase the temperature to the upper 70s, which everyone in here can tolerate. It makes the ick go through its cycle faster, and that's good. We got rid of it. I think the salt is most responsible, but then when ick medication came in the mail, I started treating them with that every single day. And it was apparent that I didn't have enough to do the cycle a full week, so I ordered another on Amazon real quickly, and they were medicated for 8 days, because that's when the second bottle of medication ran out, and now we let it sit a couple days after the medication, and that's when we started doing water changes. Everything seems good. They're all happy. No one died from the ick infestation. That's good. Really good. Down here is a crayfish. And the only reason it got in there is because those are wild caught. They were going to stay up in here, but they were being a little aggressive, so I put them down here, and the crayfish can eat them if he wants. Alright, that's about 50%. We're about to go over and flip it again. So, I put 2 snails in here. That one's still alive. The other one got eaten. The crayfish ate it. So I'm not going to keep putting snails in here. The big crayfish is just going to keep eating them like crazy. Our little teeny dwarf crayfish, which is hiding under the heater right now, does kill snails every now and then. See, I got this big, beautiful yellow one, but that's just a shell. It ate it. I don't mind that he eats a snail every now and then, but I don't want all my snails getting eaten if I were to put them down here in this bottom tank. So I want to put snails up here, and I'm thinking about putting the Plecostomus down here because that is brown algae all over the tank. We need someone down there who's going to eat the algae. Alright, fill this one up, and when we're done filling this one up, we'll drain out the hose so algae doesn't grow in it as easily, and then we'll go shut it off in the furnace room. So, I think if I put my Plecostomus down here, I don't think that the crayfish would eat it. I could be wrong, because all it takes is the Pleco going in the cave with it and getting cornered, and he's got him. But the other thing is, Plecos know how to defend themselves. They got sharp barbs that they'll jam into predators, but also they're both nocturnal. These other fish are not nocturnal. They're sleeping. That's how he's able to easily prey on them. But if they're both awake at the same time, maybe not. Or I was thinking I'll have to catch this guy, throw him down here, pretty much supervised for the day, then put him back up there. The thing is, he's not really big. When I used to have fish tanks, I used to make time-lapse videos because I had Plecos that were like 14 inches. They were massive things. I would put them in a dirty tank like this, and within an hour they'd clean every single surface. I used to make beautiful time lapses. Unfortunately, they're a tropical animal and they died during a power outage when I wasn't home. If I was home, I would have found a way to keep them alive. I didn't have generators back then, but we did have a gas water heater. I could have put a little bit of warm water in there or boiled water. Just be careful you don't break the glass. There's ways around it if I was home, but that's why I try to stay away from the tropics. Like up here, those native suckerfish, the goldfish, the snails, they're all native. They wouldn't die in a power outage no matter how cold it got. They'd have to be frozen to actually die. But the little crayfish, I think, is a tropical species. It's a dwarf one. It only gets 2 inches long, so it's better if we don't have a power outage. But everything is crystal clear. That right there would be green. There's no algae up there because there's so many bottom feeders. Here, no one's eating that algae except the one snail that survives, and he'll never be able to keep up with this big tank. So I'm hoping at some point the snails will start breeding to the point I'll be able to just throw them down there because they'll just become such a nuisance. That's really what I'm hoping for. Also, how do I intend on cleaning all this algae that's out of reach of them? One time I actually saw a snail come way out of the water to get some of that, then he went back down. I do have this, but we got a more creative way I'm gonna explain to you in a minute. Alright, we're gonna flip that. Alright, flip it just back, there we go. We're draining out the line, let's get that out of here. Draining out the line. Now I'm gonna run to the other room, shut it off really carefully to avoid a water hammer. Alright everyone, we just shut that back down. So, what I used to do when I had a similar aquarium like this, even when I had the frog I would do this, just for a short period. I will shut the filter down and I will raise the water level all the way up here, and then let the snails, let everyone go to town on the algae that will eventually accumulate up here. It'll accumulate on all these rocks. Even the leaves of the pothos will get covered in algae. They won't eat the pothos, but they will clean the leaves. They'll clean everything up there. It's really fun. I don't think it's that dirty yet. And we did have small, it's not duckweed, we did have tiny little lily pads. I bought enough to fill like half the surface of the water, but when I wasn't home, the goldfish, the pigs they are, they ate every single lily pad in here. I'm sure the suckers also helped. I also been trying new foods with them. They absolutely love shrimp pellets. They also love these tropical crisps. Not the tropical crisp, but the shrimp pellets and the cichlid food here we'll probably end up putting in our automatic feeder if we're ever out of town. Because flakes are not a good solution, because flakes, if they get even slightly damp, are going to clog the machine. The pellets usually float. The cichlid pellets will float, and I think the goldfish will eat them before they get to sink where any of the other guys. See, this guy had a big injury. He has completely healed. That's a bullfrog tadpole. If you saw my earlier videos, he got stuck against a power head, which I have since removed. We don't need that extra circulation. I just thought that the suckers, because they came from a rapidy river, would like that suction, but we don't need to do that for them. They also live in ponds. What you doing there? But he's growing legs. That right there is a snail that doesn't have a trap door. Like, these have trap doors. If they close themselves in, it's impossible for the crayfish to get them. But if he gets them when they're out, that's how he gets them. Like, that's just a shell. There's another massive one back there. I hope he doesn't kill the 2 big yellow ones left. I love those guys. No, there's actually 3 big yellow ones left. But these don't have a trap door. They're defenseless. Their only defense is being tightly secured against a rock or the glass. When they're going across the sand, they're defenseless. Anyways, shrimp pellets sink, so we'll put half and half of these into the automatic feeder when the day comes to use it. So this has been sitting in room temperature for a while. It still feels a little bit cold. That's why I'm trying to wait. Maybe I'll go ahead and throw a heater in there real quick. But I was able to tap a line off of this. We bought that a couple of weeks ago. That is a commercial grade air compressor. It can power a lot of tanks. I was showing, if you open a couple of the valves, it's still pumping. It's producing so much excess air. And this thing here was only $15 more expensive than the residential ones. The residential ones are like 30 bucks. This was like 45 bucks. Yeah. And that thing should last. It produces so much air. We have backflow protection right there. The new line doesn't have the backflow though. That's just to keep it fresh. But look at these little guys we just got from Amazon. I spent $17 on a bunch of baby ram's horn snails, and I can tell they're not native. Look at that one coming out. Its body is red. Up here, they're usually black or brown, our native ones, so these might be tropical. I'm not sure. That's why I'm very hesitant. So I guess they don't have to be underwater. They just have to be kept wet. This is how they showed up. No water, just a rag. They don't carry ick. I'm just worried the water they're in may have ick. That's why they're being quarantined in this, and they should not come out of this. I will put a cover on when we're done. This is the instructions they gave us. I think just for their own good, I want to make this slightly warmer. I'm going to go ahead and, because I'm too lazy to get a heater in here, and the heater's going to take a couple hours. This room is warm enough for any tropical animals this time of year. It's not winter yet. Like, winter without the wood stove would probably be pretty bad down on this cold basement floor. I think I'm just gonna boil a little bit of water on the stove, put it in here, and just try to get the temperature to get into the 70s, because this is cold well water. That's probably coming out of the ground in the 40s or like 5 Celsius. We got to get that up to be more like 20 Celsius. So this is how they came. We're just gonna keep them like that on the floor. I'm gonna go boil a pot of water, put them in here, and until next time, thanks for watching everyone, and have a great day. I also did order another batch of snails. I paid $30 for 20 big ones like that, but they're not going to show up in the mail for possibly another 2 weeks, and they're going to go in the same quarantine. But if they do show up in 2 weeks, these guys should be able to go out before I put new ones in. Or if they actually do show up a week apart, I don't want to screw up the guys who have been in this bucket for a while. I'll probably just put another bucket with another little line off it. But everyone's being healthy now. We don't want to get another parasite in there. All it takes is you dipping a net in here, then going over there, or put the python in here and going back to there. So the python, when I do clean these tanks again in a couple weeks, this will be its last stop. Then it will get thrown in the sink, and any ick will die as it dries, or if it just simply sits there for a week, it'll die. But if you're someone who has lots of aquariums, they make a special parasite ick killing solution that you soak your nets in. You have like a bucket here, and it looks like the blue porta potty fluid. You just put your nets in it, and it kills it very fast. Then if you go ahead and grab that net in like 20 minutes, nothing will be alive on it. You can dip it in any tank. It's safe for the animals. Pretty cool stuff. My dad used to use that at the pet store. Thanks for watching.